Hi guys, today I want to talk about dojo hygiene. Now, this is something that the average instructor probably won't speak to his students about. So you may never have heard this raised, but it's so important. Now, there's so much more than just having a bath or just washing your feet before you go to a dojo. But I will start with those. Karate is all about interaction with other people. And it's inconsiderate in the extreme if you're interacting with people closely and you stink of BO or you've got, filthy feet or dirty nails. So a rule of thumb is that your nails should be cut short so that looking at them from this side, the nails don't protrude over the top of the fingers, over the pads of the fingers. That's a good general indication. Now, there are exceptions. Perhaps if you do something like eagle claw kung fu, you're going to want to keep your little fingernail longer, or if you're a guitarist, you may get dispensation from your sensei to keep your nails longer for plucking the strings. But for everybody else, you're going to want to keep your nails short so that they're not a risk. I was sparring with somebody just the other day. I had mitts on and my nails were short, but I caught him just underneath the eye. I went in for a punch and my thumbnail just caught his eye and gashed his pad of his underneath the eye there, and made him bleed quite badly. And my nail was short even then, but if it had been longer, the injury might have been worse. It might have actually gouged his eye. So it also reminded me of the importance of keeping finger and toenails clean. If you do accidentally catch somebody with your nails, it's quite common for somebody's toenails to catch you on the shins or on the side of the foot. And if their nails have got black gunge underneath and salmonella and bacteria growing there, then that's going to risk infecting a cut. So at the very least, you should keep yourself clean under there. Now, as a sensei, quite often when I'm teaching kids, you look down and in between their toes is absolutely gross. It's full of toe jam and just black and disgusting. Now, kids walk around with bare feet all the time at home and even go out to play with bare feet and they're not worried about their hygiene very much. So as a sensei, I certainly consider it my duty to make the speech every so often in a class, maybe every 6 months, every year in a class in a non-directed way. So I'm not saying it to anybody. And I'd usually say it at the end of a class so that anyone who does have filthy feet is not humiliated in front of everybody else. But I would tell them about how long to keep their nails and keep their feet and in between their toes clean, just for the courtesy of others. Now, as for bathing, many of you guys work and then you rush straight out of work and then you have to go to class, so you don't get a chance to have a bath or a shower before class. I personally like to bath before class rather than after. Although if it's a sweaty class, I'll bath before and shower afterwards. But if you don't have that opportunity, if you're in a ground fighting art, a grappling art, I just think no matter what it costs, you have to find time to have a shower before class, because it's just not fair. If you're up super close to people that you're smelly and disgusting from a day's work, especially if you work in London or in a city where you have pollution all over you and the stink of your job on you. So that's quite important as well. Now, I guess another area connected with hygiene is jewellery. Now, most styles that I've ever done prohibit jewellery if you do kumite, if you train together, just for the safety issue that it doesn't get caught up in somebody's hands or it doesn't rip out or whatever. But also jewellery, piercings can be a place where you get dirt accumulates and accumulated dirt can be a haven for bacteria. In actual fact, human sweat doesn't have bacteria in, but it once it's out of the body, the surface of the skin is actually absolutely alive with bacteria, and that's when it can really become disgusting. So, for example, if you have a style that you use tatami mats, you're going to want to actually clean those down occasionally. I've been in clubs where they have tatami mats and they never, ever, ever, ever clean them. And you just think, there's a whole bunch of sweaty people wrestling on those. And grappling tends to make you sweat more than stand-up fighting, in my experience. And all that sweat on the mats and all the bacteria off their skin, and it's just disgusting. Now, that also brings me on to another breeding ground for bacteria is mitts and pads. And again, they should be washed fairly often. You don't really want to see black or bloody mitts and pads in the dojo. If they have blood on them from that session, fair enough, but they shouldn't turn up the next week looking grimy. And if you use material mitts, you're probably going to want to think twice about lending those to people, because it's the sweat seeps into the material, and then the material forms a breeding ground with the bacteria in your skin for all kinds of nasty stuff. So it's bad enough that you've got bacteria in your own skin, but the last thing you need is other people's germs. Now, one last thing, especially if you're a sensei, I always carry with me a packet of smints, which are those tiny little mints. If you are going to be in people's faces, or you're going to be up close, or even if you're doing groundwork where you're going to be up close or grappling, I always like to have a tiny mint before I start. It's the one exception to eating in the dojo that I allow, because again, it's a courtesy. I used to train with a sensei who had absolutely savage halitosis, and she used to lean forwards to the students, and the students used to lean back away from her, and to a certain extent they were a captive audience, and it was just incredibly discourteous of her to be putting those students in that position. So there you go, guys, just some thoughts that you might not have considered, that obviously you realise that you need to be clean, but you might not have understood some of the details about it, and this might be a speech that you want to have with your students, if only about the fingernails and the deodorant, just so that you're not unpleasant to be around. You take care, guys.